Greetings, friends. Welcome to the Grit and Equity Talks podcast with yours truly, Dr. India White. I am thrilled to be here with you. I hope you're having a phenomenal day, a prosperous week. Wishing you nothing but good vibes over here. Before we get started on the show, I do want to go over some announcements. First things first, the Grit and Equity Talks podcast. It will be featured on the X Factor EDU network, which is hosted by Dr. Matthew Joseph. And you can actually find it on Spotify. You can also find the show on all of my main social media platforms and beyond. Speaking of social media platforms, my social media platforms are Facebook is Miss India White. LinkedIn is The India White. Twitter is Indy Speak and Teach. Instagram is Indy238. YouTube is India White123. And TikTok is Dr. India White. I want to also remind you of some upcoming events. I'm looking forward to everything going as planned. Thank you to those in FAMT for the opportunity to speak to you about grit. I'm looking forward to going to South Carolina to do a wonderful keynote there with you rock stars. Looking forward to seeing you all there. And we will have door prizes there as well. I will also be at the NABC conference. Can't wait to see you guys in Atlanta. And also this weekend on Sunday, we'll be at the Making Math Moments virtual conference. So looking forward to joining that platform as well. Thank you to those that are registering for the session. My session, I believe, is at 4:30 on Sunday. So I'm looking forward to seeing you guys there. That's Eastern Standard Time. So with that said, I also wanted to remind you of the Grassroots Mini Workshop on Grit. I also have the Grit Academy, which you can request tutoring services from there. And this podcast is if you're trying to close the achievement gap, but you're having classroom management issues, or your students just aren't motivated to do work, then you can join me and we'll talk about some things. And so with that said, I know that there are so many different things, so many different variables moving in society regarding education at this time, a lot of uncertainty, especially as we move forward into the year 2025 as to what does education look like. Will we continue in the same vein, in the same trajectory, or some things going to take place? So one thing I know for sure is that there has been a lot of talk about AI, and I wanted to talk a little bit about AI and about how do we make this a practice that serves all students, all leaders. And I was brought, I guess, just more awareness of this as I attended as a listener at the FAMT conference just yesterday. And I heard so many wonderful things from really just true experts in this field talking about generative AI and tools that you can use. And so I felt like, why don't we talk about this and dig into this together? As educators, we hope that we could run from this, but I don't think we can. I think we have to embrace this and see how can we. And one speaker talked about how just different strategies as to how you can do that. So this podcast will be on the future of education, grit, equity, and innovation. And so I just think it's imperative that we have enough grit as we're serving all students as they are coming to us with all of this innovation and all of this fresh mental thought and being on the cutting edge of what really matters in our world today. So with that said, I do want to share a couple of things with you just regarding what I was able to find on AI in general, on education, on these trending things and these tools that you can use as well, whether you're teaching students in your planning lessons or if you're just trying to support students in the classroom with various digital assets. So with that said, I first want to talk about this really cool TED Talk where he goes into talking about machine learning, AI, and the future of education. He's a TEDxer. Whoop, whoop. His name's Mark, as you can see here. And so let's give him some credit and listen to him.
There's fight. For one, AI is everywhere. AI-powered apps are making resources increasingly more accessible, removing barriers like cost and language. And overall, AI has improved efficiency and productivity, which obviously doesn't count the hours we use recording AI-enhanced TikToks. And AI is growing. In 2022, another milestone year, Forbes reported 2 million images generated in DALL-E each day. 145 million Americans, 45% of us, use a voice assistant on a regular basis on over 4 billion devices. And the global AI market reached $140 billion, expected to grow by 20% per year.
Okay, if that does not convince you, I don't know what else can. No one is just throwing $140 billion into the AI market in vain. So I think that everyone needs to kind of figure out how can they get in on this and contribute and benefit and help others benefit, whether it's students you're teaching or leaders you're teaching.
So it's pretty clear AI technology is popular, it works, and it's making money, all of which means it's not going anywhere soon. So what's the problem? Well, we probably shouldn't ignore issues with privacy, intellectual property rights, accuracy, bias, even propaganda, and the difficulty of regulating these technologies. On top of these problems, as AI gets better at generating all kinds of output, educators and parents are concerned with issues of academic integrity. We're worrying it could cause students to miss important contexts, amplify prejudices and misconceptions, even bypass the learning process altogether.
Wow.
Now, I was there to experience when many in my profession feared how thesauruses, calculators, video, and spell check might ruin our students' abilities to read, write, and do math. Today, obviously, we find these in just about every classroom. In that spirit, some educators have discovered a third choice to flight or fight: adapt. They're making artificial intelligence their co-teacher by using it to brainstorm lessons, evaluate assignments, even serve as a 24/7 student help desk and fact checker.
Did you guys hear that? So if you're a teacher, you can use it as a fact checker and a tool to help with students, to support. And I'll say this, especially in the realm of math, which, that's my area, one of my main areas of expertise, I guess. It's easy for students to, put a problem in. There's a couple of different software devices where they put the problem in and it does the work for them. And it's beautiful. And the student's not doing any work and they're just taking a picture of it. And then they're sending you what the AI machine, whatever, gave you, or the calculator, whatever. And sometimes it's like, it puts you in a pickle as an educator because you're like, I know they didn't do this, but I don't want to assign them a whole 0. So what do you do? And then I don't want to shame them necessarily, but you can have those sidebar conversations where you talk with the student and say, hey, show me a little bit more on this. Or you could swap out the problem, like swap out the numbers or the variables, and then have them show it to you, before the end of that class. And then you'll be able to have a fresh perspective as to where that student really stands, if there's really has been that conceptual understanding, or if they're, if they've been fostering that growth and everything, or is this just solely they've put it all in, they know absolutely nothing. And that's why you have to switch up your tests as well, teachers, because students are smart and they talk during lunch and they know if you gave the same test earlier. So good luck with all that. So with that said, AI is not, it does not have to be our demise in education. It really can be our partner in collaboration and how we teach students. I think that it's all about how we look at it and how we choose to adapt, like he was talking. So let's go back to hear what he has to say more on this.
Are teaching students about AI technology so they can use its benefits more productively and ethically, understand its limitations, and even consider it as a career. Now, these steps may go a long way towards making AI work in our classrooms, but they don't address the fundamental question of how we measure learning when machines and devices can write essays, generate charts and images, code software, and ace tests.
So he's talking about this just for the sake of Ted. I don't want it to freak out on me, so let me fast forward a little bit.
Personal by asking, what does this information mean to you? What might it mean to our community or another community? Why is this relevant to anyone? And when children ask us, why do I need to learn this? Adults should have a good answer. Third, ask students to make connections to the real world, to integrate the pieces of what they know. Studies show students are more engaged when they understand context. For example, how does this relate to last week's lesson or to what you're learning in social studies or art class? How do your personal, local, and global perspectives compare? How might this give you insight on the past, present, and future?
I like that. And for the sake of copyright, I'm going to stop there. But as you can see, educators, this is a tool that you can use to support your learning and to support your instructional delivery and the learning of your students. So it does not have to be a negative thing that, is like, us versus them, or like this robot versus, our real intelligence kind of thing. So good luck with that. Now I want to go and talk about some other things I pulled regarding just in general, just artificial intelligence and in math education. And I found this article from NCTM paper from the National Council of Teachers of Mathematics. And so they say that artificial intelligence tools can respond to students' thinking and interests in ways that previous tools cannot, right? And says students will continue to need teachers' mathematical, pedagogical, and relational expertise, though teachers are also likely to benefit from AI-driven tools, okay? And then it says here, the skepticism. So teachers must tell students to be very skeptical about AI results, right? Because the results aren't always going to be correct. It's a machine. It's not a computer. So yes, there can be glitches. And then it says here, they also have been trained on biased data sets. Yeah, so some of the data might be biased. It says the skepticism can be woven into existing pedagogical and assessment techniques. Knowing this, educators need to be involved in developing and testing AI tools in the math education to stay up to date with current AI trends, to best prepare students for an AI future, okay? Contrary to some popular opinions, this effort may require teachers with even deeper knowledge of math instruction and assessment, math teachers with more experience, not less, right? And so they're talking about some things. They've got large language models, machine learning approaches, which is commonly known as generative AI. So now let's dig into the history of this. It says math teachers have also considered challenges and advantages of knowledge generating tools for decades, including calculators, search engines, and apps such as PhotoMath. That's the one that I was talking about. In 1980, NCTM stated that calculators help students develop and use problem-solving skills. Okay. In 2015, Webble and Otten stated that the conceptual problems, PhotoMath, can assist only with computations. It cannot generalize the patterns. Okay. Look here. It says, with technology tools becoming widely available, TOTOS reminds teachers to ensure systems that maximize equitable access to these tools so that students can benefit from technologies. And the International Society in Education, they also ask teachers to also consider capabilities, risks, and ethical questions related to using AI. So with everything, there's a balance. It's always good to have a balance and not have too much of anything, including AI. And I think that if a teacher is able to kind of sort through and say, okay, I'm using AI for a specific task. Like for instance, if you need your students to use AI to help come up with, I guess, an idea or to paraphrase or something like that, there's nothing wrong with that. I think where AI becomes a problem is if the original thought of the student has never really been stimulated. So the student is literally just giving you a robot, like there's nothing there. So I think, and it's interesting because we were talking about this in people writing dissertations. And people using AI to write dissertations. I understand if you have to edit this and paraphrase it, that happens, but how much of that is original thought? But then on top of that, how accurate are the sources and the resources being used in AI? I don't know if you've ever used AI, but you can use one of the tools for fun, and you can put in and ask questions about a certain person and like a certain scholar and things like that, and you'll be amazed that sometimes it's going to give you inaccurate information. So even for those that are at the graduate level that are trying to use this tool to support them, with their particular tasks, they still have to really watch this and fact check and go through and make sure it's vetted. Because yes, you can use it, but you need to make sure you don't just rely solely on it. So with that said, let's keep going and talking about how we can help our students, because our students are very gritty about this. They like this. It's trending. So let's figure out how can we support them with this. So AI tools, they do not replace the need to teach math and problem solving, right? They're only as good as the training and input they receive, and conscious or unconscious bias may influence the choice of the training data, right? Let's keep going. AI tools can personalize learning. Many teachers are familiar with the need to produce multiple versions, right? And remember, I was telling you guys about that earlier, of the same test or homework questions, which are focused on the same learning goal, but not different examples of the same underlying math. So beyond simply saying making the math interesting, it's also a critical component of a culturally relevant instruction. Okay. And so it's saying here, we've got to have these math problems that are tailored to students' lived experiences and personal interests, right? And so this is very interesting. It talks about how AI can support you with this. It says, likewise, they can be used to generate personalized living or learning experiences that are tailored to a particular audience or a level of expertise. So this is just very interesting. I think that just the gist here is you can't just use it and just leave it there. Like, it is a tool. It is not the end all be all. It is a tool. So with that said, as your students are using it, remind them of that. It's a tool. Don't punish them if they decide to use it, because it's coming to a time now where it's taking over. So it's one of those things. You got to just learn to accept it, adapt to it, adjust, and utilize it for its proper use. So now, with that said, I also wanted to go back. I found this guy talking about how you can use AI in education.
Used in education.
Bernard Martin Poe. Okay.
I help companies use AI in practice. I help them rethink their business model and their strategy. And education is one of the areas where AI will make a massive impact. What is really important to understand is that AI is not a threat to teachers. It's not there to replace teachers, but it's there to deliver a better education to our children, to make this whole experience better for kids and for teachers. To some extent, AI helps us to rethink our whole education system and how it is delivered. I believe that we need a much more hybrid model where we basically get the best out of our artificially intelligent enabled systems and our teachers.
So to you rock stars out there, I know you heard what he just said. It does not replace you as an educator. It does not replace it. It helps. It's like reminds me of when I was using supplemental math, digital, like math games and things like that, on top of the core instruction that I was doing, the direct instruction with the core curriculum. I didn't get rid of core curriculum because I also was using a supplemental and material on the side. I still utilized the core instruction or core curriculum, still did my differentiated instruction, but I also had time where I said, okay, guys, let's put that down. Let's go to the computer and let's use these digital resources to, get your mind going and, make it fun or whatever, or funner, right? So it's kind of the same thing. You see it as like a partner. It doesn't replace you. And if it does replace you, then that's another conversation for another day. Now, let's keep going and see what else this guy has to say to us.
When the kids spend time in school with the teacher, they should be focusing on their creativity. They should be exploring things. They should discuss things and build their communication skills. They need to problem solve. So all of these things, I think, are vitally important. At the same time, we can bring in artificial intelligence to give us sometimes a more differentiated and more individualized learning experience. Because if you think about this, there are companies like Content Technologies and Carnegie Learning that are developing these platforms, these learning platforms that enable AI-driven learning, testing, and feedback that students will get. Think about an app, for example, that enables you to learn math. So there's Thinker Math, for example, an app that will track student progress. They will really identify areas that you're not particularly good at.
So for the sake of copyright, I'll stop there. He was saying so much about just all the different type of digital apps and platforms, and we know of some of them, right? And so it's imperative that you find the ones that work for your students. And I would challenge you, have a conversation with your students and ask them about, what do they know about AI? How have they been able to use it? What do they think about it? Have they used it? Do they want to use it? Which tools do they think would help? And then, like, if the student is using PhotoMath, for instance, you can ask them, hey, did you use PhotoMath? Okay, so can you elaborate on what you found or on what this said? Can you explain it in your own words? You could set it up to where you're introducing them to it ahead of time and then say, hey, use PhotoMath to help, you come up with this, and then explain, what that looks like, or give me a visual, right? Because it talks about how some of those do not come up with generalizations or like visuals of the actual the text or the concept of the problem that's been given. So that's a way that you can partner, and there can be a win-win solution with AI. So now let's keep going and let's talk more about this, because I think kids are going to be so gritty with all of this. And so, but not only students, teachers. So I want to talk now to us about how can we as educators implement AI tools.
Immersive and personalized learning environments for students. There are numerous ways that AI is already being used in education, like automating administrative tasks, helping you deliver and personalize your lesson plans, and generating different quiz questions, in addition to helping identify areas where students may need a little extra help. But that's just the beginning. AI is constantly evolving and new tools are coming out daily, so the possibilities are virtually limitless. A virtual learning assistant? Sign me up. We'll talk about that and all the other best AI tools that you can incorporate in your classroom to help improve your student learning outcomes, reduce your workload, and elevate your students' learning experience. So
that was a mouthful, right? And so that says 11 of the best AI tools for teachers. So I'll make sure, you guys can see that, and you can tap into that. We'll watch a little bit of it. So just don't feel like you're in this thing by yourself. There are tools out here to help you. You don't need to use all 11. Grab one or two, right? And share the wealth, share the knowledge. So let's listen to see what she had to say.
Let's get into it. For course and lesson plan creation, use Education Copilot, ChatGPT, or ClassPoint. No longer will you have to spend hours designing lesson material or creating visually stunning and engaging content for your lessons. Instead, AI can help with that. Education design custom learning paths for students based on their own strengths, weaknesses, and learning preferences.
So now she's talking about differentiated learning. She's got a couple of these here. Smart Sparrow. I've never heard of these. I think it's interesting though.
Tools like Dreambox for math and reading, Smart Sparrow for general differentiated learning, and Newton for the other STEM subjects analyze student data like their assessment scores, their attendance record, and even some behavioral patterns to then recommend personalized learning and lesson material for students. All this based on their individual learning styles, progress, and abilities. These tools provide opportunities for students for self-directed learning and mastery-based progression, allowing them to work at their own pace and focus on areas where they need the most support.
I think that's pretty cool. I didn't know that they had an AI tool for behavior. I personally wouldn't use it for behavior. I am against school to prison pipeline, and I think that would be another reason why people would push that, is because they lack classroom management skills. So then they would turn to something like that to justify, their current environment. And it makes me think, like, do we have an environment conducive for AI and for learning? Or is our environment one that is conducive for school to prison? AI should not be used as a tool to set you up for a school to prison pipeline for your kids, to where, you've mastered the tool so much that now everybody gets a strike, everybody gets a, whoa, right? That's not why we want to use a tool like this. This is not why you would use generative AI. It's not to penalize and punish students, even though some of you might say, but yeah, I need evidence, or I need to be able to, I need to be able to track their progress and have an argument or a reason as to why the student is acting out of my class. And I just want to say there, if a student is really acting out and it's not a condition that has been prescribed by a doctor or something medically diagnosed, I think you got to get to know that student. And that's a whole nother conversation on building the equitable practices so that you can support your students in learning and actually get to know them and see them as people, and be willing to take down the barriers and, work beyond your qualms so that the student can be successful in your class. So again, AI should not be used as a tool to help reinforce the punitive measures of penalizing students. Believe me, we're doing a great job with the referral system. We're doing a fabulous job when you have about 2,000 students being arrested every day. So with that said, we don't need to jump that number to 3,000 students being arrested every day because we've mastered AI. We have to figure out a way to support students through restorative practices, building relationships, and PBIS models and other things to get to know our students. So with that said, let's go back to what she was saying about these tools. I just thought it was very interesting that, she even went there.
Grading with AI, use GR.I.T. Now, there are a lot of concerns and hesitations about using AI grading tools for high-stakes assignments and assessments and essays. So use it at your own risk, but it does have the potential to free up a lot of free time for teachers.
Did you guys hear that? Oh my goodness, I wish I had that when I was in school. Gradescope. So you can grade tests, or not tests, but like work via Gradescope for students.
And reduce grading bias. So a tool like Gradescope will allow you to set your criteria per question for the assignment or assessment that you're going to upload from your students.
Wow.
And then it will just go through and auto grade all of your student submissions for you.
My goodness.
Before releasing the grades back to students, you guys can easily review and adjust any of the grades.
Oh my Lord. Goodness. Gradescope. Listen, y'all, that's an answer to prayer. I'm sorry. I've never heard of that. I'm finding this out along with you guys. Gradescope. That one is a winner. I think I'm going to end on that one. But, her link was in there. It's 11 AI tools for teachers. Gradescope. That one definitely won me over. Oh, my word. What can you do with that? If you had 150 assignments to grade and AI will do it for you, and all you have to do is just kind of look and, gauge and make sure it's right. And then you can have those conversations, those one-on-one with students, or you can do full class, whatever you want to do. But oh my word, what a tool. Gradescope. Check it out. So with that said, guys, listen, it's been fabulous here on the Grit and Equity Talks podcast with yours truly, Dr. India White. So with that said, I am super excited about just the direction of our future in education and how we could stay gritty and using these different tools to bring us all together and to keep that innovation flowing. So thank you for letting me share that with you. Now, as a reminder, this podcast will be featured on the X Factor EDU network with Dr. Matthew Joseph, and it will be found on Spotify. In addition to that, you can check out my website at www.india-white.com. Thank you to all of those with great energy that have supported this grit movement and everything we've been doing, everything I have been pushing out for all of these years. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. And thank you for checking out the website. Thank you to those that recently ordered grit workbooks as well. Thank you. Thank you. So go there. There are blogs I've been writing. I don't post everything because I don't want to totally overwhelm you with all of the great things that we're doing over here. But I do want you to know that these things are available to you. So feel free to check out the website for that. You can also schedule me for a speaking or coaching event. My Facebook is Miss India White. LinkedIn is the India White. Twitter is Indie Speak and Teach. Instagram is Indie238. YouTube is India White 123, and TikTok is Dr. India White. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys at some of these upcoming conferences. FAMT, thank you to all those of FAMT for the opportunity. Looking forward to South Carolina and NAPSI, and hopefully the storm that's in the ocean does not impact travel, because we know that Sarah is out there chilling and we don't have time for that. especially after all that we're still overcoming with the last Milton and everybody else. So hopefully everything will work out well, right? And so I also want to talk about the NABC conference. Looking forward to seeing you guys there. And then, of course, at the Making Math Moments virtual conference this weekend. Looking forward to seeing you all there. Please check out the Grit Mini Workshop when you get a chance. And also check out the online tutoring opportunities at the Grit Academy. Looking forward to supporting you guys however possible. And again, guys, this has been a fabulous episode on the Grit and Equity Talks podcast. Until next time, stay gritty. See ya.